Well, first of all, I want to talk about last week. You mentioned the seeds. You
Oh
said
yeah,
make the seed paper. So,
yes.
because we had our little flower pot, or like daisy chain flower pot jars, which I mean, every time we do this, I make such small batches because I'm so worried of like having overstock. And I'm sure if we get back into the law of attraction, this is a limiting
Hmm.
belief. But I make such small batches of these handmade things, all these seasonal things, and every time they sell out, and I think, oh, like I should have made more of these because we always sell out so quickly. Like I only made like 10, but we sold out in
Okay.
a day. I was like, that was
Yeah.
so stupid. We've got glass ones as well, but those specific ones. But back to the seeds. After you'd said that, I was talking to Karen and we decided to send out some seed packets. So we just got some little craft envelopes. And I made like a little sticker. I like designed a sticker to put on it and then little stamp with our smoker matches. And they just went out with the pots. Like
Yeah.
didn't promote that we were going to do that. We just thought we'll see if we get any feedback from the customers that receive them.
Mhm.
And it was basically just like use these seeds in the pot like once you've burned the candle down as like an extra little thing.
A
So I
little
just kind of
freebie, people like a little
yeah,
freebie.
they love a
Little
little
surprise.
freebie. Love a little
Yeah.
freebie. I thought it was a really cute idea. And I thought it didn't cost very much to do. Really, really minimal effort. And I just kind of wanted to tell you that we'd actually done it like within the week.
Nice.
And I think I'm
Mm.
going to do that moving forward for all of our concrete jars.
Yeah, it's a good way to reuse them. It gives it a multi-purpose, and it gives people something immediately they can do with it. All they got to do is get a little bit of soil or compost, and something
Yeah.
like that. It's a cheap investment for you, but it's thoughtful. So
Yeah.
that's a nice bit of value. And who
Yeah.
doesn't like a plant? So,
Exactly, exactly. Once we get into the summer months as well, I keep seeing
mm,
it. I don't know what you get served on Instagram, but I get served the most random stuff. And recently, I've got a lot of people making paper.
right.
I don't know
Sounds
why. I must have at some point talked about making paper, and then I get
yeah.
loads of people like making like homemade, what's it called, recycled paper, and they've got
Yeah.
these like sieve things that they use.
Oh, I've seen one of them recently. Yeah.
Right. So I thought, well, after we talked about this last week, and I'd already been seeing these paper reels. I thought I'm going to try
Mhm.
and do this in the summer when it's hot and sunny outside. I'm going to do some reels of me making seed paper
Yeah.
and then I'll like cut it out into whatever and then we'll send those out. Maybe I'll make tags or something. Like this
Yeah.
could be a gift tag that you can write on and it'll come with every candle. Um but yeah, that spiraled really quickly from that conversation that we had last week.
Yeah, no, it's good to talk to other people and get ideas. I get so many random things pop into my head, but I can't always do them. So if I can share them for other people and they can crack on, that's decent.
Yeah.
But I guess you could make your own paper and create the content for that and then find a way to outsource it. Because I think if it becomes a thing, doing it yourself will make you want to
Yes.
self harm. So,
Yeah. It's the worst. It's one of those things that is you have an idea like this happens all the time. Karen will be like, well, we could do this and we could do that, and it's so little fiddly stuff. Like even
yeah.
with this, for example, she said, well, if I print this out, then I'll glue this onto that. And I said, absolutely not. So this is a
Mm,
free thing that we are sending to people. We haven't even promoted it. Don't get yourself into the point where you're gluing something by hand
yeah.
onto each individual envelope. What if we sell 100 of them in a day? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
That's so tedious. When I first started making my little gift tags, like these ones,
Hmm.
I was printing them off, cutting them out, stamping a hole, and it took me so long to do it until I could find someone that could make these. So each one of these costs like 24p, but
Mm.
I like the idea, but it's just so time consuming.
No. Well, exactly. As well as with you saying as well about it being, you've got to be able to scale it.
Yeah, that's
If you
it.
can't scale it, then you are limiting yourself to the number of things that you can sell.
No, that's it. But I think it's a nice idea to do a couple of reels or make some content of you showing you doing it because that'll create cool engagement and people like seeing stuff like that. So
Mm,
yeah, definitely
yeah.
worth a go.
Yeah, it
I
was
think
really
you
fun.
could get those little discs, can't you? You put on top with seeds in already. Have you seen them?
Yes. Yeah.
Like dust covers or something.
I've seen, well, see, that's the problem that I've got with dust covers as well. I know that you have lids. I actually was looking the other day. I don't know if you've ever looked at this company. I don't know where you get your jars from, but there's a company called Ampula. It's like
Yeah,
all glass
yeah.
jars. we've just ordered some aluminium bottles from them that we're going to do some room sprays in, which I'll get into. But they do tons of different stuff, and I got totally like carried away in their website of all these different jam jars, and I thought, I love the idea of the jam jar. It's not really on brand, but we could do like a diffusion range. We've said for a while we'd like to do like an apothecary where it's like lavender and rosemary and mint and that kind of thing, and that would be cute in a jam jar. And I like the idea of it having a lid, because our candles right now don't have lids.
Yeah.
But the reason I've not done dust covers is because I could do it for the glass, but because the concrete ones are hand cast, they're never perfectly like
Not quite
circular.
simple, are they?
Because I love the idea of a dust cover. I think it looks really smart, but
Yeah.
it just wouldn't work.
Doesn't have to necessarily be a dust cover for the sake of it being a dust cover, but you can get a little disc you could put on top.
Yeah.
It's a smaller one, so you know it fits all the time, I guess.
Yeah, but I do like that idea.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Definitely. I've seen people do it, but not with concrete jars. So if you make a whole thing of the jar being reusable and that being, so it's almost 50%. You get a really nice candle, you get a really nice jar.
Yeah.
That's working together to create a slightly unique product rather than it just being about the candle, and you might want to reuse the jar if you feel like.
We made such a thing of the jar initially, like when we first launched, and we were like, we talked more about the jars than we did about the candles, than we did about the wax melts, any of it.
Yeah.
And then as time's gone on, I think I've got so bogged down in trying to make candles that smell as strongly as possible, which we've talked about at length. You just never stop thinking about like, how strong does this, can I smell it? Can they smell it? Never stop thinking about it. And I just kind of forgot that we need to be talking about these jars.
Yeah, totally. I think even if you think scale is an issue, there are places that sell concrete jars. They're relatively expensive, but there are options if you do think about it.
Yeah, well, that alone. I mean, Supplies for Candles started selling concrete jars. I don't know if you've seen it. They sent an email out a couple of months ago, and they were like, now we're going to sell these concrete jars, and they've got lids. And I messaged Karen immediately and was like, we're on to something, because if they've just started selling these, this is a thing.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, I think if you can double down on your plan with your concrete jars and create a whole selling point around the jars, that being a big part of your message, and start posting on your stories and how you can reuse them, and maybe stick a few little plants in them, and I don't create that as your whole thing, like that Tyler aromatherapy lady we've talked about.
With coffee cups.
Well, all in on her coffee cups, and then now
the refills. Did you see the refills?
Yeah,
after we talked about that last week as well.
Yeah,
we so talked about refillable candles, and then she went and did it immediately because she's so ahead of the curve.
Posting about that 3 or 4 times a day about the refillables. So I think that's something I've learned from watching her. The amount she posts about her products and how vocal she is at promoting herself, I think has done her really well.
Yeah. How have you felt about that? You know, like over promotion.
I'm getting better at it. The plan for me now is to try and do 3 posts a day. So I want to do a reel, and then either, it doesn't necessarily have to be a post, but it could be a reel or a photo, and then 2 stories. So I'm posting 3 things a day in total. And I'm about to create like a content plan of loads of different ideas that I can do for reels and photos. And then what I want to do on the stories is kind of behind the scenes, so people get to know me and the brand. So on the face of it, it looks really good. Like the grid looks good, because I don't want my face all over it. Not that I'm not a beautiful person, but it's going to mess up with the aesthetics of my kind of old worldy bookish charm.
Yeah.
And then I think the personality will come through on the stories. So I'll talk about candle making, what I'm doing, how they're progressing, and then talk about the failures and things, and just that human aspect, so people can get to know me through watching the stories. I think is going to be the plan. So that's kind of what I'm working on with that. I'm watching people like Tyler do her thing. She does a lot, maybe more than I would want to do, and it obviously works for her because she's building up a lot of interest and getting people to subscribe to newsletters. as like a pre-launch. So when you do launch something, you've already got 100 people that want to buy it immediately. So I think talking about stuff like that and promoting it is a good way to do. It's just, I think sometimes getting over yourself and not feeling like you're ramming your content down people's throats all the time.
That's definitely how it feels. I saw, I don't know if it was a meme or whatever it was that said something like remember when you feel like you're talking too much about your small business, that like, I think it was America, that like
Yeah,
Walmart will send you an email at 2 o'clock in the morning. Like big businesses are constantly emailing us. And sometimes you
yeah,
feel like, oh, it's just another, and you do start to kind of ignore those things, but it takes a certain amount of times for you to hear about something before it sticks. So I think we
yeah.
do need to get over that, and we do need to be like, maybe you lose a few followers if you over promote, but maybe you gain loads more that would never have seen you.
I think the difference is with big businesses, there's no personality, there's no human aspect. Whereas if it's just you talking about your brand and you being passionate about it, people see that authenticity. Whereas if, I don't know, I can't think of any brands specifically, but they're just ramming stuff in your face all the time, it just becomes a bit soulless because all they want is your money,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. Well,
which
even,
we
I
also
mean,
want to make,
yeah,
but
we all want to make the money, but the difference is the big brands aren't, they'll be like, you just won. Whereas when we sell something, it's a really big deal. Like if you sell,
yeah,
I don't know, however many more than you usually sell, that's like, oh wow, I've had a really great day. Nobody
yeah,
feels
that's
like
it.
that at these big businesses.
Yeah, totally. There's some days I sell 10 candles. I'm like, yes, if I can sell 10 candles a day, I'm onto something here.
It's a really
But I'm
big
trying
deal.
to, yeah, trying to make each customer or anyone that engages with me on social media, I'm trying to spend my time to reply to them and just get to know them and make each person feel a bit special and part of my brand and my journey. So
That is basically kind of what sets us apart, as we know. But it does kind of feel sometimes like you are competing against something that's impossible. Because
yeah, I think with social media though, I think as long as it doesn't look like you're selling, I think that's what also sets you apart. So like Red Bull on their Instagram page, you don't see a single thing of them promoting Red Bull. It's all done through action sports. So I think if I or you or other people could do something similar, so I'm not actively trying to sell anyone anything, I'm just talking about what I'm making and getting excited about what I'm making, process and how it works, and get people interested in all of that rather than, look, this is something, you need to buy it. It's £10.
And
So
also the people that do a really good job, like I posted something yesterday that was like my attempt at doing something like it. I see a lot of people do kind of like seeing the product in action, like with the Red Bull thing.
mm,
You're not saying, here's a product, do you want to buy this product? You're saying, like with a nail polish, you're just watching, like someone might just be talking and painting their nails, and you're aware that
mm,
they're painting their nails. You're seeing the product be used, but they're not saying, look at this, buy this now. It's,
yeah,
there's some kind of like blur between buy the product and like, look, it's just there. Imagine like with your stuff, you sitting down to read a book with a candle lit by you. It's advertising your candle, but it's actually just more of a, oh, that's a vibe. I want to
yeah.
create that vibe. I've already got a book. Now I need the candle.
That's exactly what I want to do. So I've seen a lot. So now because I follow a lot of bookish accounts and such and so forth,
Mm.
it's given me a lot of ideas because there's a lot of reels where they just do like quiet life or simple life, just their amount of nature. There'll be lots of little quick clips of uh, maybe some trees, maybe a little stream, and then maybe them putting on a cozy jumper, lighting a candle, and then sitting with a book.
Mm-hmm.
So they're creating like little mini experiences. So that's what I'm going to try and do with all my reels now. So each, just I'm going to collect a lot of footage. So where I live is like really beautiful
Picturesque.
Suffolk, yeah. And there's loads of nice old buildings and loads of old, cool, oldie, worldy charm things. So just going to collect lots of footage and create like little, I hate the word vibes, but little vibey reels that indirectly promote my brand and little story, but without, yeah, shoving it in your face.
Do you know, I was watching somebody yesterday. It was a hairdresser. So It's kind of a similar thing, but not. This what would be for you would be make more sense than hairdresser. But he's a hairdresser and he kind of like goes out, same as you do with your vlogs. And he's like walking, and then he's got a tripod, presumably, and he's talking about hair. And he's like, these are the trends, blah blah blah. But he's in nature. And just from what you're saying, maybe you should do reels that are like you've gone on the walk with the dog, you've got your tripod, and you just seem it's almost like a like happen to be able to talk to someone about this thing. Yeah. Oh, fancy seeing you here. And you've got your candle and you're like talking about how this candle would make you feel or whatever in the setting. So, you know, like you took the picture in the stream. Imagine like you're sitting by the stream with your dog or whatever, and you're like talking about the candle. It gives a completely different feeling when you're out in the area, in the woods, and there's a woodsy candle or whatever. It's a way of inserting you into your content that still kind of makes sense because there's things that you do that also make sense for your product.
Yeah.
And evokes like a feeling.
Yeah, that's a very cool idea. I'm working on one at the moment. So I was trying to do like an old forest one, but I couldn't get the right scent for that. I've got a wild woods one now, which is kind of freshy bluebells, but with a hint of cedar wood and other things. So it's not entirely wood, it's quite fresh. There's a really lovely bluebell sort of wood near me, and they'll be coming to season. So I could do something very similar, go for a walk with a backpack, and have my candle in, bring it out and be like, this.
Yeah. Well, that kind of content does so well, you know, people just walking. Like walking along, it's got you like doing whatever you're doing, and then for you to just, you know, like those shots of I'm imagining you like crouched down.
Yeah.
Oh, this is this candle, you know, imagine you're in this place with a voiceover, and then you're like, well, this candle smells exactly like this, or this candle will make you feel as if you've just lived through that experience I've shown you.
Yeah, I think I'd have to add a vaguely sarcastic vibe to it.
But you could do that. You could. It's almost also kind of like mocking the content that is so popular.
Yeah, like I could be like, oh, fancy seeing you here in the woods with my lovely candle.
Yeah,
something like that. So yeah, that's a cool idea. I will put that on my list of ideas.
It's so hard to insert yourself in that way. Like I've got a friend who she does loads of like miming, and we both came from like kind of beauty fashion YouTubey kind of backgrounds, and she still does that stuff, but she got really into like the TikTok of it all.
Right.
And we're talking like a woman in her 40s. This is how I feel like, oh, I'm too old for this. It makes me feel uncomfortable. Even if I thought it was fun, I feel like people are just going to be like, what does she think she's doing? Who does she think she's doing? Like, you know. But she does it, and she's so great, and it's really funny, and she just has a lot of fun doing it. And when I started doing that stuff for the candles, I felt almost like I could separate myself on my regular Instagram or my regular whatever from myself on the candle thing, and the miming stuff and the dancing stuff and the stupid things. It gets so much more attention than the stuff that you're taking a long time with.
No, I see a few of your things, and I couldn't imagine myself doing that, but they do make like interesting videos to watch. So.
It's more engagement, even if it's more engagement because everyone thinks you're being a bit of a dick.
Yeah, comes quite naturally to you. So
honestly, like that's not something that I would have felt comfortable like dancing and being like, oh, look at me, or pretending to. But those things have really taught me you've just got to separate yourself from you are now. When you're doing that, you are like the face of the brand that you're trying to promote.
Yeah, definitely.
Not yourself.
I'd like to just go back, coming naturally to you not being a dick, but the dancing. So otherwise it led on like, coming naturally, being a dick is
being
fine.
a dick. I totally took that as what you meant, and that was fine.
But
you wouldn't be the first person that's ever said that.
Yes, okay. Just embrace it, go with it. Everyone is unique. But I've seen videos before when people like Beyonce, so when they go on stage, they become a different character. So in the day-to-day life, they're just, I don't know, Beyonce, but when they go on stage, they're Beyonce. Yeah. They channel that kind of different character it's still them, but it's almost acting in a certain way to amplify a bit of them. So
Yeah, it's just a way of being able to feel like this isn't me.
yeah, a bit of
Like,
detachment.
yeah, like I can do this and this is a stupid thing and feel less stupid because it's not me doing it. Um, and that does help with like, doing the stupid things. But
Mm,
it is a thing. Putting your face out there, it does help. People buy people, and it does help
yeah.
to. And I think as well when it's men, because I'm always more intrigued when I see a brand, especially like a creative brand, um,
Hmm.
and then you find out that actually, oh, it was a man that was doing all these things. I'm always more interested, and I'll go and look at like, oh, what else do they do? Because there's so many women.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose a lot of brands, candle brands, are women selling it. So
Yeah, so that is another point of difference.
mm, yeah. Weirdly though, the sort of bigger YouTubers are Wade and Stanley. There's not many massive women one apart from
There we go.
Memory
But there's not
Candle.
that many full stop.
No, no, true.
I think that is more of a because they're not necessarily massive candle brands, although Wade obviously is really successful, so
Mm,
much as massive content creators, massive on YouTube. And massive on
yeah,
YouTube is a different skill set.
yeah, totally.
And I think people do, when you're talking about business and people want to hear, well, unfortunately, people do want to hear from men. Here's how you do well in business.
Mm,
And so I think that the men are on a bit of an uneven playing field to the women.
yeah.
If you're actually looking for how do I create a successful business, men are going to get a few more eyeballs on them on YouTube than women.
Hmm.
Whereas on Instagram, it's a different situation.
Yeah, I think all of my recent followers are like 99% women. So it's
Yeah.
all that bookishly aesthetic vibes of stuff. So it's a
Yeah.
completely different audience. I suppose you don't get many men buying candles, to be honest.
No, and even if you do, if you were like just to again think of it through the lens of YouTube and advertising, and when people ask
Mhm.
me for information, they want like typically when we're talking about selling a lifestyle product, if a brand is looking for an influencer to sell that product, they want women over 25.
Okay.
That is their demographic, preferably like women 25 to 45. They are the buyers of things in
Yeah.
this world. I'm sure lots of men buy them as well, but knowing that they are the market that we should be targeting as well. I mean, plus 45 obviously, but that's the
Mhm.
like core of like this is where they're most interested.
Yeah, I think I've been trying to do some stuff on Pinterest because Pinterest is mostly women
Mm,
trying to promote images and things on there. I'm still toying with. I don't really understand Pinterest, to be honest. I don't really get its
no.
point, but it is obviously very popular. So yeah, I think it's working towards your audience and who's going to buy candles.
Pinterest has video and stuff now as well. It's like a whole new platform. But I think what would
Yeah.
probably do well is, we were saying about like the sitting in the chair with your candle, reading a book. Stuff like that will come up. I mean, I've got a whole wall of Pinterest images. Let me show you
Okay.
up here as like an inspiration board.
Cool. Yeah.
So I literally got all those from Pinterest and had them all printed out. Just put them on the board of like, this is an aesthetic. I'm trying
Mhm.
to like a physical Pinterest board.
Yeah.
But all of those pictures I will have found not by searching for individual products or individual brands, but by searching for something that led me to something else that was like a
Related.
feeling. So if someone's looking for like
Yeah.
cozy, they could get to your candles.
Yeah, that's it. The thing is, I don't understand Pinterest. So I don't know how to fully use it because I don't get it. But yeah,
Well,
that makes more sense the way you've described it. So.
yeah, because I used to post a lot of stuff for Pinterest for beauty blog stuff, but it was just
Mm.
such a lot of time and effort. And I was like, and I think probably it makes more sense to post less, but more engaging stuff. And if you were on Pinterest, let's say you were looking for food stuff,
Yeah.
you wouldn't necessarily pin a picture of, don't know, like a jar of something that you would buy from the shop, but you would pin a picture of like a nicely laid out table.
Mhm.
You'd
Yeah,
pin a picture of something that included that small thing that you had initially been looking for, but not like they wouldn't pin a picture of one of your candles, just a picture of one of your candles, but they
yeah.
would pin a picture of like the candle stacked on books in a larger space.
Yeah, it has to have that flat lay, aesthetically looking
Yeah.
sort of thing.
It's your favorite word, vibes.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
vibes. It's vibes.
Mm. Yeah, it's something I've been playing with. I haven't really spent much time to dedicate to it, but trying to build it in the background to get like organic social media traffic to my website. And it's slowly doing well. It's just I think they're pushing a lot of videos now because they want to compete with TikTok and Reels and things like
Yeah.
that. So they're pushing a lot of short form sort of videos. But I'm
Yeah.
mostly paying someone on Fiverr to do it, like 50 quid a month. Well, every other month to promote stuff and push stuff. So she'll go on my website and my social media channels and just download it and put it on there. But,
Hmm. I really need to look into like outsourcing some promotion because
mm,
I've been like a one-man band for so many years, and there's
yeah,
so much stuff that I just don't enjoy. Like I don't enjoy doing stuff like that. I'm
yeah,
not good at repurposing content and then post it elsewhere.
yeah. It's really hard.
Yeah,
There
I've
are
never.
websites you can use to put it on one and it distributes it to other, but I don't know how good they are. And I've not really tried it.
Yeah, like it just in general self-promotion. I get really excited about making the content. I don't mind editing the
Yeah.
content, making a thumbnail. That's where I'm losing interest. By the
Mhm.
time it's gone up, I can't even. Like, I'll respond to comments, but that's it. I can
Yeah.
barely be bothered to talk about it. So that, unfortunately, like the making of the thing, and then I've lost interest, is
Mhm.
not translating well to promoting a business.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe have a little look. I use Fiverr for a lot of stuff. There are sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. So you
Mm,
need to skip through it, and most of the time it'll be an Indian company just shoveling crap. But every now and then you can find something or someone that works quite well for you. Because I was paying someone to write articles for me, and she wrote really well, like really good articles for I think I get 500 words for about 15 quid of like a nice handwritten article to promote various candle things. And some like backlinks and SEO and social media stuff. There's bits and bobs I've done on there. I've paid for Instagram promotions, but none of them really worked very well for me.
mm.
They just didn't really understand what I wanted to do, and they just kept trying to sell me like followers. So
Yeah, I don't think we've done any Instagram ads, but I kept thinking like maybe it feels totally wasted at this time of year.
yeah. There's a pros and cons to it. So I've been playing around with Instagram ads, and I think one of my Lord of the Rings sort of candle photos has maybe gained me a couple of followers every day.
Really?
So, and I think I've sold a few of those candles through Instagram ads and Facebook ads, but I don't really fully understand it. I've just been pressing. And so
Yeah.
I've gone through and been like, what has performed the best in the last couple of months? And I've picked that to boost it, thinking
Mm,
it would do quite well. There's more more parameters you can look at because you can pick everything specifically and really dial down in what you want. But I've kind of just gone, yeah, give it a go, see what happens. Is
yeah.
what I do with most things.
I'll tell you what's been really interesting on my regular account recently is I was for quite a while I've been like, if it's not a reel, I'm not even going to bother. Like that
Yeah.
seems to be Instagram's just pushing reels, and
Mm.
if it, it's pointless to even post a picture. The last few times I've posted like several pictures, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I can't remember,
Definitely.
carousel. And
Yeah.
last time, a few times I've posted carousel rather than a reel, it's got so much more attention than a reel.
Okay.
So many more comments, so many
Mm.
more likes. So I don't know whether or not it is the algorithm and suddenly they're favoring still images again, or if people are just sick of videos and every now and then if Instagram is now made up of like at least 75% reels minimum, then if you're scrolling, if you hit a still image, maybe
Mm.
that stops you.
Yeah. What I've seen or read before is if you do a carousel, but you provide information, so some kind of headline that stops people, and
Mm.
then what I've done before, I don't know if it helped, but an example was what I've learned from stopping drinking, and then you go through and people find the information and they flick
Yeah.
through it. So if there's something you can do that stops people with some kind of headline, there's a lot of reels that give you information about like hooks.
Mm.
So you can maybe do that in a carousel. So if someone goes and then they flick through your images, might be something
Well, I'm
worthwhile.
talking literally just a regular picture.
Okay.
I don't know whether or not it's because people are so flooded by videos
Yeah,
that actually stopped them, just like because it was a still image, or if they are seeking still images because they're so bored of reels.
might be nice just to have a bit of peace and quiet in the constant bombardment of sound and noise and
Mm.
movement. That just a bit of quiet is
Yeah, it just made me wonder, because I thought I've not really been posting still images, and
okay.
after you'd said that about the video, I thought, sorry, about the ads, I thought
Yeah,
maybe if I get just like one really good image, I'll post that and we'll do a little ad and see
yeah, give it a go.
how it does.
Try it for £1 a day and 30 days and 30 quid for a month is a decent test. I don't
Yeah.
feel like it's still an investment in you, and you can learn if it works and if it doesn't work and see what engagement you get from it.
Mm.
So it's definitely worth playing around with. I want to try and either pay someone to learn how to do Facebook ads, because I think people can do really well with products and Facebook ads. It's just understanding how to do Facebook ads effectively and not pissing all your money away.
Yeah, I think Erica made a video about this.
Yeah.
I think she was talking about how they weren't effective, or as effective anymore as they used to be. I don't know if this is something to do with the algorithm, or like people can opt out of things now. I don't know, but I'm really not utilizing Facebook at all.
Yeah. I think everything still works, but I think the game changes. I think everything used to be super easy with Facebook ads. You can more or less get a crap dropshipping product and just Facebook ad the crap out of it, and you can make loads of money.
Mm.
And I think with everything, it becomes a bit more difficult because people abuse it. So things get refined and algorithms become
Yeah.
more complex. So yeah, it's something to play around with. But I don't know whether I've or I can be bothered to learn it, or whether I can just outsource it. So,
Mm.
or maybe a bit of both. I think
This
having
is
a
the thing, though, isn't it? Just like everything you do, it feels like you have to learn something
yeah,
new constantly.
that's it. But I think having a rudimentary knowledge of how everything works means that if you do outsource it, you might not get mugged off so much because you have a rough idea of how it works. But whether or not you got the
Yeah.
time to learn how to do everything to an excellent level, it's quite difficult. I think having a base knowledge of everything is quite handy.
Yeah. I do like when you do your like financial reports, I do like to hear how much money you put into advertising, because it's not something that people talk about that much. I think it's because it's almost like people don't want you to know that they've paid for advertising.
Yeah. I think the other thing is most people don't post their numbers properly. They'll talk about gross revenue. So
Mm.
in the month of December, I could be like, right, I made £9,000.
Yeah.
I haven't.
No.
That's how much I've sold. But I think a lot of people manipulate their numbers. They're not lies, it's what they've sold, but they don't get into the nitty gritty of it. They don't talk about advertising, cost of goods, and refunds. And
Yeah.
so I try to make it at least real. So even last month, I think I probably sold £2,000 or £3,000 worth of stuff, but by the time I've gone into it, the actual
Yeah.
profit I've made
It's not
is
actually the
okay.
full profit.
No.
So before we started actually recording earlier, we were talking about not rushing into things, and um you were talking about rebranding, which we'll get to, but I wanted to share something that we'd started this week. Not started, but we kind of made some final decisions on it, and I just got a little bit carried away. This was yesterday. We finally decided on some things. We're going to do some diffusers,
No.
which we've kind of been on the fence about. We've been kind of testing some stuff for a little while, but we were just not 100% sure. It started off with, what are we going to do about our room sprays? Which I realized I've pretty much never promoted at all since
Mhm.
we probably did them. This is the only problem with I don't have any stock. So I've started to kind of keep things back. So I've got stock to make the content because I do all the social media, but Karen has all the stock. So
Okay.
that's a problem. And I also don't have a visual representation of how much stock we have left of things, whereas she can see when something's not selling. I can't physically see it on a shelf. So she's obviously thinking, well, we're not selling these room sprays. I don't even have it in my mind. It's like they don't even exist to me because I haven't got one to show you. And she said, well, should we do them on a sale before we launch what we're going to do in the bottles that we want to have? I'm like, well, you don't want to devalue a product if you're going to bring it back. You don't want
Yeah.
to say, you know, oh, it's only worth this, because we brought it out as an introductory price anyway because we weren't happy with the bottles. This was a whole thing. Anyway, we decided to do them buy one get one free just to get rid of the stock that we had of the ones because it felt less devalued, buy one get one free,
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
it's only worth
Sometimes
this.
when you do a discount, it feels like you're just cheapening your brand sometimes.
Yeah,
And
they were.
sometimes it doesn't really, I don't know. I don't really
Well, they were
like
already
it.
discounted. It's just that
Yeah.
I didn't want to feel like we're putting a price tag on this that is so low that when we relaunch them, they're going to be like, well, I'm not going to pay that because it was this. So what we've decided to do is I found these aluminium bottles on that website I mentioned,
Mhm.
which are like 100 ml aluminium bottles. And what we were struggling with was finding a really nice glass bottle for these room sprays that was not all plasticky. So the ones we would use were like glass amber bottles, but the lids were like a plastic spray bottle.
Yeah, they always look a bit horrible.
Yeah, it's a
They
bit
look
naff
cheap.
for me. They do look cheap, and it's not. I mean, it's not cheap, but I just couldn't find quite what we wanted. I wanted metal, and it was really difficult to find. And then if we found ones that we liked, they were so much more expensive. It would really drive the price up. So what I've decided is I'm going to get these aluminium bottles, and we're going to have those in stock all the time.
Mhm.
And separately, we will sell empty glass bottles. So you choose your refill that you want, and you
Yeah.
choose your glass bottle, and you only buy the glass bottle once. You can choose it dependent on your whatever you like. We can have multiple ones available. Choose dependent on your decor, depending on your personal taste, or you use a bottle you've already got.
Yeah.
And you refill from the ones that we're offering, and we'll give them like a little plastic funnel to
Oh, cool.
refill
Yeah.
with each one. That's the plan. And I felt like, right, we finally found the solution for this. Let's do it.
Look at good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I
it was very like, I was like, well, we can get it by the weekend. And I was getting ahead of myself. Well, this will come on
yeah.
this day and blah, blah, blah. And I just had to kind of pull myself back of like, let's not rush into something that would be a really great launch.
Yeah, that's it. I do it all the time. But sometimes I'll be like, right, get everything next day delivery.
Yeah.
So it's here. But then even then it might take me weeks to get around to actually doing what I want to do when I realistically see how much time I've got. But with reed diffusers, I tried doing them before because I was like, this is going to be a really easy way to make money because I haven't got to make anything. All I've got to do is get that Agio, whatever it, clear
Yeah.
and mix it with stuff and pour it in a bottle. But I hated pouring it in bottles. The bottles I was getting were from Ancient Wisdom, which were like mass-produced Chinese ones. The corks never fit in the top. All of it was just horrible. But they sold really well in the local shops. They didn't sell so well online for me. But there's a lady I sell to who's got a little company that does like refillables, and she gets so many people asking for refillables. I do them for her like a jar, but we didn't really have a way to do it effectively. So there's little aluminium bottles would be a really good way of actually doing it.
Well,
Because once you've got the nice glass jar, people don't want to waste it.
exactly. So we'd been testing with the reed diffusers for ages, and this is exactly what was putting me off, was I'd seen the costs involved. The fact that you've got to buy the cork stopper, I'm like, oh, that's so
Yeah.
annoying. The fact that you've got to buy like a box to put it in to make it look like a nice displayed thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of these things feel so wasteful because the cork, you just throw it away.
Yeah.
And there's the issue of like, what if it leaks? I don't want to have to put tape around it. That makes the whole thing really ugly. So because we'd found these aluminium bottles for the home fragrance, the sprays, I thought this is actually perfect because it actually works for the reed diffuser as well. So I found these reed diffuser bottles that are like a white ceramic. They haven't got, you know, like some of them have got like a screw top
Yeah.
edge, but this is just like, it just looks like a tiny little jar with a little kind of opening like this, a little ceramic thing. So
Cool.
again, they buy that separately, or they refill something that they've already got, and then we will sell a refill in the aluminium bottle and reeds with the little funnel that they
Yeah.
can refill what they've got, and that's a separate item. You can buy the diffuser bottle and you can buy your fragrance of choice,
No.
and then you only have to buy the refills.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea. When I first started, I was getting these ceramic-y white-looking bottles from Supplies for Candles, and they were really, really cool because I put my see-through transparent plastic label on it,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of merged into it. But they stopped selling them. But they were the best looking things I had for what I wanted. I could never
Mm-hmm.
find the replacement. I could never get a good enough bottle to put it into it. But the cost of everything was so much money; it's always pointless. By the time I got everything and the box to put it in and the reeds, it's about £8 to £9 cost before I've
Yeah.
even. So, and I couldn't, in my head, I'm sure they are worth more money. I couldn't justify charging people more than £20 for one.
No.
So,
I feel exactly the same way. And the box, I just could not get past the fact that I had to have a box. I put our candles in boxes, but that's by choice. If suddenly we decided not to do that, it wouldn't be a major issue. It's just like, it's
yeah,
a nice way of us like wrapping it, and it actually helps with transporting them and them not breaking. So it like a double duty thing. But the thing of having to have the diffuser box just made me so cross that we never really moved past that. And this
yeah,
way, it's all totally separate. So it's not going to have a box. It's just going to come. Maybe I'll put the diffuser thing in our candle boxes. So that will be in this box. Then you'll get the aluminium bottle. You'll get the reeds separately. Maybe you can buy a box if you want it to be a gift. That can be a separate add-on if you want that. But there's so many things that I think you see this is the way that everybody else has done it. If you do a reed diffuser, it has to be displayed like this. Why?
yeah. Well, I got really cool like tube boxes for mine.
I've
So
seen them. They look
I didn't
so
know,
smart.
really expensive. So I didn't want them. One thing, I don't like making all the boxes. That just pisses me
Yeah.
off. So I get tedious, and yeah, trying to get these sausage fingers to operate that is just a nightmare. But these cylindrical boxes are really good. I couldn't get one the right size for what I wanted. So either the reeds were too big, so I try and buy reeds which are smaller. But I couldn't get exactly what I wanted, so I sort of gave up. So I managed to get a tube which was ever so slightly too small, and it wouldn't sit quite right, and I'd have to get a bit of masking tape. It just wasn't quite there.
Yeah.
It was so close, and I couldn't get quite the right bottles. But yeah,
It's frustrating when you've got an idea and in theory it works so well and you've just got to let it go.
yeah, and for some reason I just hated all of it. I hated weighing out. I hated pouring it in because that'd make a mess. I'm sure I could have done it on a better volume, but just getting it all in the bottles and getting oil everywhere, it just,
Yeah.
I don't know, it feel didn't feel great. So I
No,
stopped.
no. Well, this is again what I'm hoping that the aluminium bottles will solve a lot of those things. If we've got like a funnel, the jug, you fill all the aluminium bottles up, they go on a shelf as and when people buy, and then you're done. I'm really, really hopeful. Also, it'd be really weird if, because we bought the diffuser bottles from Supplies for Candles, it'd be really weird if it's the same ones because they are white
I'll
ceramic.
have to have a look if they're back in
See if
stock.
they've come back, because it's
Yeah,
really, they are the nicest ones I've seen, and I've not seen them before there.
no, that might tempt me back to doing them.
Well,
They
also
were
there are different ways. You
nothing.
don't have to do it that
Yeah,
way. You don't you could do it this way and it
mm.
be more of a like a sustainable, because that's another thing that I feel is part of our brand, is like we're trying to use as little single-use plastic as possible and try and make things as sustainable as possible and
Yeah, people like that.
reusable.
The refillable thing is definitely popular. It's just trying to work out how to do it effectively.
Yeah.
But I just hate pouring lots of little things into lots of little things with funnels. I just the tedious nature of it gets to me after about 5 minutes. Then I
Yeah.
want to pull my hair out. So,
No, I know what you mean. At least with the aluminium bottles as well, you could do it, then clean the bottles, then label them.
Yeah, totally. That's a really cool way of doing it. So, what room sprays? What do you put in them? What's the spray liquid?
Really similar. You can actually get, since again, because we were just gonna rush it out, and I was like, let's do it for the weekend, it's bank holiday. And then I said, no, let's just pull this back a little bit. So we'd already been doing some testing anyway, but I ordered something from Supplies for Candles that is supposed to be both a room spray base and a diffuser base.
Oh, cool. That'll save you time and effort having less stuff around.
Yeah, because also if that works well, because the percentages, like the ratios are the same, then on the shelf, if we've got like all of these, let's say we've got like 10 of the Good Morning fragrance, that can be either for a diffuser or a room spray.
No, it makes a lot of sense. If you can spend less time and get the same result.
Yeah.
You don't want to be doing the same thing for two different products, but with slightly different ingredients. That would just do me in.
Yeah. So again, it just makes it all the more simple. I think probably on the website, we'd have to still separate them for people, because people are going to not be able to get their heads around that necessarily. You know, like if we've got a refill, I think let's still have it on the site as diffuser refill, room spray refill.
Yeah, exactly. The people need simple guidance.
I think I would be a bit confused because I would assume that a diffuser was more oily than a room spray.
Well, you'd be like, well, can I use it for that? You get a lot of people asking questions. If you can make it idiot-proof as possible and simple for people to go, right, that's for a room diffuser, I'm going to apply that.
Yeah, just cuts out questions.
Yeah, it needs to eliminate the questions.
It is, but yeah, that was my thing this week. That was just dial it back. And then you said before we started recording that you'd been thinking of like changing some stuff up and rebranding a little bit, as always.
As always, new ideas. But because I'm so quick to do everything immediately, I want to get everything changed, and I want to stop what I'm doing and change everything, because this is going to be the new best idea ever. I'm just going to slowly spend a bit of time testing it. So for some reason, I randomly made some candles the other day with a slightly different ratio of waxes, because I'm still not 100% certain the candles I make are the best candles I could possibly make. They never smell good enough for me. And as soon as I get a complaint from Amazon saying they can't smell it, I test everything and I go mental, asking Philippa and other people, can you smell it? Can I smell it? And so I randomly stuck a wood wick in one of my candles the other day, and it was the best smelling candle I've ever made. So it's given me the idea that maybe I can do wood wick candles. There's not many people doing them, but I think, like you said, they struggle to stay alight. So maybe that's why a lot of people can't do wood wick candles, just the difficulty in burning them. But what I would do at this point normally is change everything immediately and go all in on wood wicks. But I'm going to spend the next sort of couple of weeks testing them, testing every single set to make sure they all burn well. I think sometimes different fragrances don't always work with the wax and the wick. So whereas I assume in my brain everything works with everything, but it's not always the case with candle making, because it's a bit of a fickle beast.
It's so frustrating because there's so many variables. Like, I know that if you just so much time that would be involved in actually going through there's so many different variations of, well, this, but with slightly different wick, slightly different wax. But then what if I try this? There will be an optimum combination for each oil.
Yeah.
Just annoying that information is just not readily available.
Difficult,
somebody knows.
The only way to do that, I think, is through your own testing. So sometimes I make something, I'm like, well, that doesn't smell like anything. But what I really want to achieve is just the same process for everything. So the same wax, same wick, and same percentage. I don't want to have to be like, right, I'm doing that with 8% because it's too potent, and I'm doing that with 10% because it's not potent enough, and I need to do a bigger wick with that, because I'd rather just everything be the same. Otherwise, it becomes a bit too many moving parts, too many variables. And then if you try to outsource it or teach other people, if you get employees one day, I think it's just easier to make it as simple as possible. Just, this is what we do for everything. This is how we do it.
Yeah. I feel like if you've got one particular recipe, then I try different oils. And if the oil doesn't work with that recipe, I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah, I think that's what I've found out. Certain oils, just you can't get a smell from it, even if you really want to. So I've had a few before. I've tried doing exactly what I do with everyone. That's what I think. And I'm like, is it my candle making? Have I done something wrong? But I think sometimes certain oils just don't work with maybe wicks or waxes. It's just, yeah, a
Yeah.
pain.
Yeah. No. It's super frustrating because there's just so many different things. And then, like you say, then you start looking at like, well, what about this and what about this? And where does it end? Where does it end with, well, even once you get into woodwicks, well, maybe I'll try these kind of woodwicks, and this brand woodwicks is supposed to be this. And it's just goes on and on. And you would just be testing new things forever if you allowed yourself to.
Yeah, that's it. It's trying to settle on something. I think through sheer luck, I think I've maybe found almost exactly the right wood wick and exactly the right wax combination. But I'm just going to test it out for a bit and just make sure it all works perfectly. Because really, what my goal is I want people to be my sort of brand ambassadors. I want someone to buy a candle and go, "That's the best thing I've ever bought.
Mhm.
Smells amazing. It looks amazing. It is," and they feel compelled to write a review rather
Yeah.
than I don't know. I haven't got an example. So that's really what I want to do: is create the best possible thing for my niche of people. And I think with the woodwicks, they almost, going to sound really cheesy, it almost creates like a little personality, like a little soul in the candle, because they're sort of in the background, sort of crackling and
Do you know what it
waving
is?
around.
It's a vibe.
Yeah, a vibe.
It's a vibe within a jar. It is. It's the atmosphere that you have created with this thing is now amplified because candles are already atmospheric. They're already creating a feeling in a room with the fragrance and the glow, and then even like the name of it and the jar that you've chosen, and then the woodwick just is like another. It's like a
Yeah, that little extra. And that's what I really want to do with the book theme. So people can sit in their little cozy corner with a candle crackling along, and it's just a bit of company in the evening, adding an extra story to their escapism or something when they're reading. It's that kind of
yeah.
experience, and what I'm trying to create in the candle is an experience. It sounds so
No,
crap
but
when I
that's
think about that.
exactly true. That is how that is like the why. That is what sets you apart from a big company selling a candle that's just like, oh, you go to Asda and you buy like a basic candle that smells
Smell.
like vanilla. Yeah. You are trying to create an experience because why would someone buy something that costs £20 over something that costs £2? Because of the experience. Why does
Yeah,
someone spend £30 on a lipstick instead of £5 on a lipstick? It's the experience of using it, the smell, the texture, the packaging that it's in. It's everything about it is the experience is why you wanna buy that instead of that.
no, that's exactly it. No, that's what I'm going to spend a bit of time doing before I've been trying so hard to copy other people and see someone doing something successfully that I'll just try and rip it off with my own twist and think, right, well, if they're selling it, I can do it. I can maybe do it a little bit differently. I'll get a piece of that market. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to grab at money. But if I spend the time creating something which I think is going to add value to someone's life, each thing is the best thing that can possibly make them, I don't see why it can't be popular and it can't work. So that's where I'm going with this. And each iteration of my brand, I'm getting slowly closer to that kind of nail on the head with what I want to do. And it feels like I've rebranded quite a lot in the last 2 or 3 years from when I began. Because in the beginning, I just wanted to do like nice farmhousey candles that would sit on a middle-aged, wealthy woman's mantelpiece. To now actually creating a story and a vibe and something with it. It feels like every time I change something, it's getting more arrowhead pointed
Mm,
toward the right thing.
yeah. Like if you
So,
started here and you're like,
mm,
"This is my idea," then you just narrow in and narrow in and narrow in to like, "This is very specifically my brand."
yeah, and I'm hoping this is the last change. I think
It will not be the last
there
change.
probably won't be,
But it will
but
only get better every time. You make slight improvements, slight improvements.
I think if I can settle with these labels and settle with the idea. So what I've done now, each label's got a completely unique image on it that I've used Midjourney to do. So AI has created just a unique image, and then I've got my sort of logo and stuff on it. So the image almost sets the vibe as well, and then the smell and the crackle is all going to work together harmoniously. and
Yeah.
create the perfect experience for whoever's buying that candle.
I
So
think that Woodwick is perfectly on brand for your whole thing. Like I said, I had a bad experience with Woodwick. It wouldn't put me off forever, but it would
mhm,
definitely put me off changing everything to Woodwick
yeah,
because of that. I would want to, like, if I were you, I'd do like a, let's say you had like, didn't you have like a fireplace scent?
mhm,
So
yeah,
like if you went with that, that's makes a lot of sense. It's a fireplace candle that crackles. Even if you rebranded that one first, put it out into the world and was like, let's see how this
yeah,
does. And then afterwards you could say, this did so well that I've decided to do the remainder of the thing. I'm so nervous for you because of my experience.
yeah. It's really hard with my all or nothing
I
brain,
know,
but I
I'm
think
with you. I get it.
now had had the taste of how good they all smell. I'm like, if
I've
they all smell that
been
good,
there.
mm,
I felt
yeah,
exactly, I was like, I literally texting Karen, like, this is the answer to all my prayers. It's like, even I think this is the strongest smelling candle. And then I felt like
yeah, the complaint.
all the walls were falling in. But I totally get it. I cannot be told, as I've been
Yeah,
told on
that's it.
many occasions.
So, yeah. But I'm
But
going to do a lot of testing the next couple of weeks, and I'm going to make sure they burn all the way down. They don't get too hot. It's not going to be a fire hazard. They do keep relighting, but
yeah,
we'll
I
see.
want it to work because I really think that it's the perfect finishing touch to
Yeah,
your,
that's it.
to the feeling that you're trying to create with the brand is perfect for a Woodwick.
Yeah, and there's no one else on Amazon selling woodwick candles that are handmade. There's maybe one seller, but she's doing it by posting it, so it's not an FBA.
Mhm.
And there's only, I think, Woodwick Candle Brand, which is quite a big one. And then there's one other person selling them. They look like they're white label ones from China that have just been rebranded.
Mm.
So there's no one else on Amazon doing handmade Woodwick candles properly. There's no one really giving it a good punt. So it could be
Well, there's
something
definitely a hole in the market, but then I see
mm,
that as like, why are they not?
well, exactly. If it is problematic, because I was looking at the reviews of one of the handmade sellers, and she has had people saying they can't light it or they smell really well, or it wasn't crackling
Mm.
enough. So I think there's obviously going to be other potential issues, but even with normal candle, there's lots of issues anyway. So
Yeah. So one thing I've never done, I wonder if you have, just thinking of that is, do you ever buy from other people just to like test out the competition?
no,
Maybe
have
we
you?
should, because
Yeah,
like when you have those moments of like, this candle doesn't smell of anything, maybe you would think the same of somebody else's. And if you read their reviews,
yeah.
because if we've gone a bit nose blind, because it definitely happened, maybe if you read their reviews and all the reviews are like, this is the most amazing candle in the world, and you aren't getting that experience, then it would kind of set your mind at ease of like, maybe I don't have that far to go to
No, that's
improve.
it. That's probably a really good idea, actually. I think our expectations of what we do is probably so high. Because
Yeah.
I randomly gave one of my friends a candle to try, and he was like, "Oh, this is the best candle I've ever had." I bought one from like North Norfolk, which is like £25, and it was rubbish. And that always gets really good reviews. I can't remember exactly what the brand was, but he was like, "I had high expectations, but yours has blown this one away." So
But then you
yeah,
think
maybe a good
like, but
idea.
are you just saying that? It's hard to believe when someone gives you a really good review. Even like there's no, my mom is not someone who like showers me with praise, but she
Mm,
was so impressed. Like when I was making them originally, she seemed very like, let's see how this
yeah,
goes. It's not going to be very good. And because she loves Yankee candles, and she smelled ours and was like, this is better than Yankee Candle. And
yeah.
I've no reason to not believe her because she wouldn't say that if it wasn't true, but I don't believe that.
I think that our problem is we're testing so much all the time, and even when we're making the big batches, the smell is so potent that when you come to lighting it, like, well, that
Yeah.
doesn't smell like that earlier. So I think it's hard to detach ourselves and test it without a negative bias, I guess.
Yeah. It's difficult to see ourselves objectively for sure.
But I think that might be quite a good idea, actually, buying some candles, because then at least we're paying back into the economy that we're trying to buy from. So it's a
Yeah.
universal goodwill to
It's
the
universal goodwill, but
consumer.
we're also hoping that they're terrible.
Well, there's always a yes,
We're
yeah.
hoping that they're not better than ours.
Well, yes, obviously in the background, but it'll be interesting to see how other people's products arrive, how they're packaged. So I see a lot online, but I've never really thought about buying them because I've got so many testers on. Like, I've got about
Yeah.
15 on one table that are half burned and half.
Do you know what might be interesting for a future one of these? We should send each other a candle.
Mm,
And like, have you seen those? Is it Wade that does it? Where
yeah,
he receives a thing and he does like well, I like the packaging of this thing and I
yeah,
think it's this kind of wax and and this is how well it burns. We should do that. We should do like
yeah.
individually test out each other's candles and then be like,
That'd be
well, I
quite a
don't
cool
know
idea.
what she's doing because this is terrible.
Wow, it could go really badly if we both take each other's candles.
It would be interesting to just like
Yeah,
to see how they actually compare. Maybe
yeah.
let's keep that to ourselves if it's really terrible.
Well, yes, that would not. But yeah, those are videos of his I quite enjoyed because it's just interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Wonder if I could do that for the UK, but without ripping them off too much.
Well, again, this is I said this in the beginning. There's nobody doing this.
Mhm.
Nobody is. There's so many people making candles. I think there was somebody, I can't remember her name, something in Ivy and Twine.
Yeah,
Something
she
in
was.
Twine. I watched all
Yeah,
those videos. I was like, I love this. And then she just stopped. I think maybe she
yeah.
moved more into wholesale because that was the
I think
model that they wanted in the first
she was
place.
on YouTube a bit too much. I really
Mm,
enjoyed all of her videos. I found her quite just down to earth and wholesome watching. But
yeah,
she's got 13,000 subscribers, and I think they're still growing just from
just from those
the videos
videos, yeah.
she's done.
I think the
So
thing with that though is people start things like if I started a TikTok, I would be starting a TikTok to promote the candles. I would not be
yeah,
starting a TikTok because I enjoy TikTok. I
mm,
already did YouTube and you already kind of like do other things other than just candle stuff on YouTube and you were going to do like the fitness stuff and whatever. You have an interest in YouTube and sharing your life on YouTube and like
yeah,
that creative process. Maybe the thing with them was they were only doing YouTube to promote the business and there was no
yeah, quite possibly or
real
to make money because they know they can make money from it.
yeah.
I
Um
spend all of my time watching YouTube. I don't watch much TV. If I'm going to watch something, I'll watch a YouTube video.
yeah. So
So
maybe that's
I,
the thing.
you know,
Most
I enjoy
people
making them.
most people who would do this would only do it because they were trying to promote their business rather than they love YouTube and they're just finding something to talk about on YouTube, which is kind of what you've done.
Yeah, quite possibly. Mm. Yeah, I didn't think I could be wrong. Some of the videos didn't look like they'd take that much effort to make, like the vlogs and stuff. But
Mm.
maybe she found it more tedious than she was willing to put time into.
Some people just don't enjoy sharing themselves on the internet. I totally get it. It's not me. But I totally get it. Some people, it's hard to put like because you put yourself out on the internet, people are not going to be kind all the time.
No,
And one unkind message can, if that ruins your week, it's
mm.
not worth it.
Yeah, it's hard to separate yourself. I think the more I do it, the more I just really don't care what people think. There's still an element of that, but
Yeah.
uh, people are gonna hate you regardless. Whatever you do, and you put yourself out into some kind of spotlight, someone's gonna dislike it. So, I
Always, always. But I could
think
like it's just not for everyone.
no, I think annoyingly for her, she could have 100,000 subscribers by now. She's stuck at it for
But
the
then
last year.
if that's the reason that she stopped, then that would
Mm.
only get worse.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I think she found an audience that bought into her and her process,
Yeah.
and even all of it, like her
Yeah.
husband like dealing with dogs and them setting up their warehouse. Because I've watched all their videos as well.
I know. I
I found it
loved
really
the
inspirational.
warehouse journey. I was like, oh my God, this is so great. Like she's getting a warehouse and they're making up this workshop and it was
Mm.
so aspirational.
Yeah, that's
But
it, definitely. Like,
I would love to have her still to watch, but I do appreciate the reasons that she probably stopped.
mm, yes, her whole model was wholesale. I
Yeah.
think, and whatever works for people. I just don't know. Something feels a bit soulless about entirely focusing on wholesale.
Yeah. It wouldn't be for me at all. I mean, that's the same as like I've always said. if I got like 1 million views per video, but nobody ever
Mhm.
commented, I would lose interest in that really quickly.
Yeah.
Because the
You want
money is
big
there, but there's
engagement.
no personal connection.
I don't even know if the money's there. Like, people aren't that interested in you, then I
Yeah.
think the money is limited. Like
It's
we talked about
just,
before, it's better to have a couple of thousand people that are really interested in you than hundreds of thousands that don't really care. They watch a little bit.
yeah. Yeah. But I definitely think there's a gap in the market. When I kind of decided that before I found you, it was everything I could do not to start a new channel. Like I do not have the capacity for building a whole new thing. So I thought I'll just kind of build it into my vlogs. I'll just show people the stuff
Yeah,
I'm doing
the
as
best
I
way to
go.
do it.
If they're interested or they're not interested. But if this had been 10 years ago, 100%, I would have had like another, because I've had so many YouTube channels talking about different topics
Yeah.
as and when I change up things that I'm doing. But there is for sure, nobody's talking about this in the UK. There's not a lot of people sharing suppliers and like testing. I think the reason I found you in the first place was you were probably doing some kind of wax testing, or
Probably.
I'm doing this, I'm doing that. When you've done videos where you've shared process and I do this at this temperature and this at whatever, it's really, really useful to see it here because everybody in America is doing it and we just don't have that.
Yeah, they're all different wicks and different waxes. But that's what I find most useful is seeing people trying stuff and either succeeding or failing, and then it makes it more relatable
Yeah.
because everyone you see is a finished article with their brands and products.
Yeah.
Um,
But you want to see the journey. And yeah, that's why I was so disappointed when Ivan Twine stopped making videos. I'm still hopeful that maybe they'll come back one day, but I don't think
and,
so. But listen, how exciting will it be when one, in the next however many years, you are doing vlogs where you're like, and now I'm opening this, I've got this warehouse and I've got like a workshop and whatever. And then this will have taken off to the point where you're like, and I've also got a podcast studio. Doing this and that. It's all going to be amazing. And people will have been able to follow from the very beginning all the way through because you persevered.
that's it, and that's what I've learned the most recently is discipline and just keeping at it. I'd normally give up if I don't see any results, but the goal is to get the YouTube channel to 100,000 subscribers. If Erica, Wade, and Stan, if they can all do it, there's no reason why I can't do it. If I can add something different with candle making, I think at some point it won't necessarily all be candle making. It might be a bit of business related or mindset related. There's lots of stuff I want to talk about and do, but it's just weaving it in at some point. I think once people get interested in you, then they are happy to listen to you talk about other things if it's within that umbrella of.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
Well, this has been an extra long one. Will this be a bank holiday special?
quite possibly. I need to sort the other one out. So.
Well,
It'll be one a week. So.
if this is an extra long bank holiday special, maybe next week, because we've done like such a lot of random topics in this week's one. Maybe next week we should do law of attraction, mindset.
Yeah, totally. Mindset. Well, yeah, we
Mindset.
can make a list of things we can talk about. So it's
I've got some fun non-candle related law of attraction stories.
okay.
I wrote a book once. It was
Oh wow.
I know I wrote a book once. I forget I wrote a book and then I see someone mention it and I'm like, oh God. I don't think it sold very many copies. It was a terrible deal. But yeah, it is on Amazon. I didn't make any money up front for it. It was a really terrible model. I make like 50p for every book that is sold. So every now and then they're like, here's 20 quid. It was
okay.
but you know, it was nice to have written a book. It was nice to have the opportunity to have written a book that was right. But that is all to say, I always used to say my second book will be called How a T-shirt Changed My Life, and it will be about the law of attraction and how that like I'm now incredibly successful and whatever, all because of the law of attraction.
Well, the way you think definitely makes a big difference. If you don't think you're worthy of something, I think you'll unconsciously self-sabotage. So I need to change my thinking because at the moment I don't think I'll ever make more than a couple of £1,000 a month because that's how much I get paid at the moment, and that's how much my ceiling is on what I think I'm worth in order to get paid. So it's expanding your mind.
Well, also, if you've said you need to earn enough money to stop working, then you were thinking you need to earn your wages.
Yeah.
You're not thinking beyond that. And I for sure have had certain things with the candle stuff where it's like it's too much work. Something comes up and I'm like, oh, I'd really like to do that, but oh, it's going to be a lot. And I think
Mm.
I honestly think that blocks the thing from happening. But again,
Yeah.
we can get into this. This is a whole podcast episode worth of chat. And I do also feel like it's something that maybe should be separated out for people who are really interested in the law of attraction or people who
Mhm.
are really not.
For the wishy-washy hippie vibes and witchcraft.
Yeah.
So
Oh, we'll have a special episode and it can be like we'll film it and it'll be dimly lit and we'll have a candle. We'll get into the magic of the law of attraction for one special episode.
Halloween special. We can all
Mm-hmm.
dress up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it. Anyway, this was a great one. It was a long chat.
Yes, many things, many things.